Hello everyone, what's happening? Hope you all had a decent Christmas and a decent New Year. Bit of a shite one for me. I went out on Christmas Eve and I still woke up on Boxing Day 2 days later feeling rough, and I was thinking to myself, these 2 day hangovers are getting much worse for me as I'm getting older. But turns out I caught COVID again, felt like shite, and I've been isolating for the last week or so. And yeah, so I've had nothing else to do besides just sit in my apartment and watch the horse racing. So I'm going to give my views on it now, everything that happened, and talk about some of the horses that are relevant to these videos. And I'm not going to be able to cover it all, obviously, because we'll be here all day. But I'll try and touch on what I thought were the main talking points of the Cheltenham Festival. So yeah, starting off with the King George. That many races, we just had to literally list the races in order, just so I don't forget some. And the best place to start, of course, would be the King George. And listen, it's been a week or over a week since the race has been ran, and we all know, like, everybody's came out on these videos and the race analysis, and we all know what happened. They went far too hard in front, and the race kind of fell apart. I always think it's disappointing when a 28 to 1 shot wins such a race that looks so competitive beforehand at the top of the market. But I suppose you could say the winner was unexposed, but I was just a bit disappointed by it. I was a bit underwhelmed by the race. But listen, the winner won well, and we'd have to see him over that kind of trip again before we judge him properly. If we just dissect some of the horses' performance at the top of the market, starting with Manella Inzo, who's the retaining champion of the Gold Cup. I said in these videos a couple of weeks ago that I couldn't have him at all for this race, but then in my previous video before this one, he was starting to grow on me because I thought he's a Gold Cup winner. Surely, whether the track suits him or not, he should be going close. He ran an absolute terrible race, and he ran a race that bad. I don't think you can just blame the track. Like, he had cheap pieces on. I don't know if he must have been working at like a boat at home, and they've sent him here to try and sharpen him up. Like Nicky Henderson self-confessed, he sent Santini to this race last year to try and sharpen him up because he weren't showing the same spark at home. I know he's always been a slow horse, Santini, but he must have been showing something extra slow that year for Nicky Henderson to be saying that. And then, listen, we all know what happened with Santini's career. He's running in handicaps now for some trainer that I've never even heard of. And I just think Manella Inzo's a horse on the decline. You can say he's a spring horse, but I think that was a worrying performance. Listen, I'm not going to completely write him off because we'll touch on the Gold Cup more throughout this video. It looks terrible in my opinion. I wouldn't say that any horse in the market couldn't win it this year because it just looks, in my opinion, it looks like a terrible Gold Cup. And I'm sure many of you will agree. But I'd be worried if I went all in on Manella Inzo this year, which I haven't. Fortunately, I think he'd be wanting more from him than just thinking, oh, he's a spring horse, he's going to bounce back in the spring. I thought that was a worrying performance. And then Chantry House, the horse I have put up for the Gold Cup, that was also a worrying performance. The only positive I can take from that, if I'm trying to take positives from an absolutely wretched performance, is that people have always been telling me this horse is more of a King George horse than a Gold Cup horse. I disagree. And I think that was proven. He was readily outpaced. His jumping was put under pressure. It was his first real test in open company. He went some gallop from the front and he just couldn't cope. And I'm just hoping Nico was minded him. And then, listen, Lost in Translation pulls up in this race a couple of years ago before placing in the Gold Cup. Manella Inzo was last of 5 on his prep run before the Gold Cup last year. I'm not going to completely give up on Chantry House. The track may just not have suited him, but it was worrying also. It was a terrible performance. But I think Nicky Henderson has said the Cotswold is the next stop for Chantry House. I don't know what else is going to turn up there, but I'd be expecting him to win that race. I'm a big fan of the horse. He likes Cheltenham. I know he lost there last year, but a back injury came to light afterwards, and then he won the Marsh, as we all know, at the festival last season. So yeah, he's drifted to 25 to 1. The last time I checked, I'm on a 50s, so I wasn't tempted to go back in at 25 personally, but I was almost going to put 0.5 points on him on these videos, top back up at 25 to 1, because in such an open Gold Cup, I think that could be an overreaction. Listen, he went off favourite for the King George, and even someone like me who's a massive fan of Chantry House, I don't understand how he went off favourite because he's done nothing in open age yet, and a lot of people don't like this horse, and I understand why, because he had no right to go off favourite there. He has got that overrated feeling about him because he hasn't really shown anything yet. But I do think he looks a Gold Cup type, and 25 to 1. I put him up on 14s in these videos. I thought I only done a point, so I was going to go back in at the 25s, but I've done 2 points, and I'm happy with 2 points, 14 to 1 in these videos because, like I say, it's not like I think he's got amazing claims. Like, he's definitely going to win the race. He's got a lot to prove, of course he has. But hopefully he can go and win the Cotswolds, and then he'd be back around probably the same price he was prior to the King George, and we'll see what happens. I think the Cotswolds in 3 weeks or something like this, maybe 4 at the end of January. I think that's the ideal race for him, and I'm not too disheartened with Chantry House, but I had no idea how he went off favourite in that race. I was even saying on the video prior to this, I don't know how he was even 11-2, never mind going off 7-2 favourite. And the market was all wrong anyway. We found that out after the race, and 28-1 shot one, and Stadium for Lunch I think was 8-1. He looked booked second before he fell. And yeah, that's basically all on the King George. I've already spent enough time on it, just touching on a couple of horses, and I don't think there was any real Cheltenham clues with the winner, but we'll see him out again before we judge him properly. It was a good performance, and I think he was the one. I think everybody thought he was the one, even if a Stadium for Lunch stays on his feet. But it was a bit interesting because a Stadium for Lunch looked like he had a lot more left to give, but he's done what he always done, and he fell, and we all seen what happened. So we can move on to the Quarto Star. Listen, I'm made up about this race. Like I told you in the previous videos, I had a good bet on Brave Man's Game anti-post for this, and just to make myself watch it with a bit less nerves, I covered a bit on Ahoy Senor, so it was a win-win for me, but the best outcome was Brave Man's Game winning the race, which he did, so I was made up with it. I just thought Ahoy Senor was really disappointing. I just thought there was something a bit freakish about that performance at Newbury. I did think people were overreacting to it, but listen, the clock doesn't lie, and a lot of top judges think that this horse is a machine. But I just thought, I don't know, I like I said in the last video, I fancy Brave Man's Game to win this, and he did easily. I've put Ahoy Senor up for the 4 miler. Something on a fly on my screen here. I put Ahoy Senor up for the 4 miler at 20-1 in these videos, and I'm hoping he still goes there. I know, listen, after his last performance, apparently, like I say, it was sensational on the clock. I don't really follow the clock. I like hearing people's views on it, and I like reading Simon Rowland's sectionals, things like this, Gavin Lynch's time sectionals, whatever he does on Open the Ante. But I don't really take this into account too much when I'm placing my bets. But yeah, I wouldn't completely write away saying you're going off for the 4 miler. Maybe it might be too much of a pride thing, and they think we've got a genuine Grade 1 horse here. We're not. He's going the RSA or the Festival Novice Chase. This is what Lucinda Russell might think. But you just look at the 4 miler, and Galvin won it last year. Well, it's not the 4 miler anymore, but obviously you know what I mean. The National Lunch Chase. Galvin won it last year, and he's currently second favourite for the Gold Cup. I think Native River won this many years ago, and then he won the Gold Cup after this race in the future. So maybe it's not so much of a knock of, when you first think of the 4 miler, you think of sloggers, Grand National horses. That's what I think of anyway. But there's no shame in it, and I think this Ahoy Senor is a galloper, and I think the 4 miler is just be better suited to him this year. Not just because I put him up in these bets, but we'll move on to Galopin de Champs later, and even Brave Man's Game. I think Brave Man's Game will confirm that form at Cheltenham. People are saying, oh, it's a different track, the hill. If it was on the new course, yeah, I'd agree with you, Ahoy Senor all day. But that old course, I don't think it takes as much like stamina as, in my opinion, I could be completely wrong here, but I just think sometimes stamina is essential over 3 miles plus on the new course. I don't think it is on the old course, and I think Brave Man's Game will confirm that form with Ahoy Senor. And I think Galopin de Champs, even though he's only just won a maiden or whatever it was, I think that's his race to lose already. That was just absolutely outrageous what he's done over the Christmas period. We'll move on to him later. But I'd like to see Ahoy Senor go for the 4 miler, obviously for my personal bets and for the bets in these videos, and I think it'll be the right race for him, but we'll see what happens. Moving on to Ireland now, where most of the horses I'm going to cover are from the Irish meetings. So start off with Cigarhead. He was very short. I think he was like 1-3, 1-4. He was expected to win. He was impressive. Listen, you'd expect him to win, but you would have expected Kilcrew to win, and he didn't. So it was nice to see this fella go and win. It's already been touched on. Like I say, this video is coming out late for me, so I'll try and not repeat what other people have said, but everyone could see how slick his hurdling was. And I thought it was an impressive performance to build on. Willie said he's looking like he's going to go down the Supreme route now. I think that makes sense. That Supreme's looking hot. We'll move on to Mighty Potter later. We've got John Bond, Constitution Hill. You just got to pray they all get there. I'd be interested to hear who you all think is the winner at this stage. Me personally, I wouldn't usually go for this horse on profile out of these 4, but Constitution Hill, for me, there was something about that performance, something Shishkin, Altior-esque. Listen, it's only his first run. I'm not saying he's going to live up to be as good as those horses, but the way he put daylight between Mai Tai and him after he jumped the last, it was just something special about that performance, and I'd be with Constitution Hill at the moment, and he's running the Tolworth, which is coming up soon, I think, this weekend. So we'll find out more about him. He may not have achieved as much as the others, but Constitution Hill for me at this stage, but Cigarhead was mightily impressive. Thought he was fantastic. Moving on to Phil Dawg, and this just confirmed that this horse prefers soft ground compared to good going, because he beat the same rival, Luna Power is its name, by further this time on the soft ground. I'm going to put a horse up for the Cheltenham Festival for the Triumph Hurdle at the end of this video, because even though I've got Phil Dawg at 10 to 1, and I'm happy it's got a bit of value, it allows me to have a bit of cover on the day if he does go off favourite. I just do think this horse is a horse that's going to appreciate softer ground, and I think he could be vulnerable on good grounds in the Triumph if there's something good that could come out from now till March, or something we've already seen. There was a few nice juveniles we'll touch on that have ran over the Christmas period that I'll touch on later in these videos. But listen, I thought Phil Dawg was impressive, but I definitely think he's got a preference for slower ground. And yeah, like I say, you can't complain when your horse is winning. I think he's into 3 to 1, 5 to 2 for the Triumph, if I'm correct now. I've backed him at 10 to 1 in these videos, so I'm happy with that. And yeah, I thought it was a good performance. Then we move on to Mighty Potter, horse I put up last time, not for Cheltenham, to win the Royal Bonds, and a couple of things went wrong. I backed him again here. He made amends. He was still looking very green. He didn't hurdle too well. I think Jack Kennedy said this, that it's the worst he's hurdled, but he still got the job done. 3 Stripe Life was closing. I don't know how strong the form's going to be, because Laggy debut virtually pulls up after jumping violently to his right. Was his right, I think. Sorry. The whole way round. I don't know how much that form's going to be worth. Gordon Elliott said this horse, Mighty Potter, is going straight to Cheltenham. I just don't know if the Supreme might come but early in his career. He only had the one run on the bumpers. He's had 3 runs over hurdles, but he still looks green. He still doesn't look the finished product. He looks a chaser. I do think a Supreme running off a strong pace will suit him, but he wouldn't be top of my list for the Supreme, like I've already touched on. But good horse for the future. I've backed this horse 33s for the Arkle and the Marsh next year. It's not even like he'd be my first choice at this stage, but I just think that's value. Like, he looks a chaser. Gordon Elliott, Jack Kennedy said that it's all about next year with this horse. He's going to go for either the Arkle or the Marsh. I think he looks at Arkle horse. He's not going to be 33 to 1 on the day if he transfers this form over hurdles to fences, which I think he will. I think he'll better it. I think everybody does over a fence. And I just think that's a few quid on him for the Marsh and the Arkle for the 2023 Cheltenham Festival. And I think that will look value on the day if he makes it there safely in 14 months' time. So moving on to Shishkin. Shishkin blew me away. I thought he was fantastic. He hit his usual flat spot and then just put daylight between him and his rivals. He's all known with Shishkin fan. And I always had him bottom of the pack, but after his performance last time out and shocking disappointing, I had him much closer to Shishkin, but Shishkin's calmly, he's come out, he's showed he's well, and I just think Shishkin's going to win the champion chase. I said it in the first video. I'm on at nice prices. He's in me Trixie on these videos. I just think Shishkin's going to win the champion chase. No disrespect to Energamy, and every time he comes out, he's impressing me more and more. But no, I just thought that was absolutely fantastic by Shishkin, and all I wanted to see is that he was alive and well, and he showed that, and he showed that he's still in scintillating form, and he's surely only going to improve from that. And I'm more than happy to carry Shishkin to be on the Shishkin team approaching the champion chase. So if we move back over to Ireland, horse on colours. Oh, sorry. My girlfriend just barging into the back room as always to ask me something while I'm trying to record a video, knocking me off my flow, story of my life. But moving on, let me just get the notes back up. So hot and colours we was on. So this horse come with a big reputation, which I wasn't aware of until a couple of weeks ago. I'd heard Mikey Fogarty give him a good mention, saying he's a real horse for the future in a preview show for Cheltenham last year. But I hadn't heard much about him over the summer, things like this. But then as soon as he was entered to make this chase debut last week, everybody was saying the machine's out, this horse is a machine. So he must be doing something right at home. And in my opinion, he just won like he was entitled to. It was a good performance. I think the analysis on Road to Cheltenham showed he was strong at the finish. Listen, it was a good performance, but he must be doing something at home because he seems to have a massive reputation, this horse, and he's only young, so he's an exciting one for the future. But as far as this race alone goes, I think he just done what he was entitled to, really, beating Gentleman to me. So, but yeah, of course, he looks like a nice horse. And moving on to Envoy Allen, this race was a farce, wasn't it? Like, grade one by name or only. Like, it was shocking. They absolutely crawled home like a pair of 3 milers. In my opinion, that's because they are a pair of 3 milers. I don't see why. I don't even think this horse is getting an entry in the Gold Cup. That makes no sense to me because he's not going to win the Champion Chase. He's as slow as a boat, and the Champion Chase, we all know how strong it's looking anyway. He's not going to win the Ryanair as far as I'm concerned because in that John and he just got left behind by about 3 or 4 of them, 5 of them, which all could be reopposing in the Ryanair, and Allaho will be peak for that. And I just think Allaho's a certainty for that, as we've mentioned before. Obviously, he's got to get there, but I just don't think Envoy Allen would have a chance in that Ryanair unless it literally fell apart anti-post. Um, I just don't. This horse was bought to be a Gold Cup horse. They've got nothing to lose now. He's a big disappointment this season. Why not just toss him in the Gold Cup? To me, he looks slow. Just pop him along on a Gold Cup, see how he gets on. What have you got to lose? I know they've got a Plutard, the same stable, but I've kind of went off a Plutard since the Savage Chase, especially as the anti-post favourite anyway. I'll touch on that later. And they've got Allaho, same connections for the Ryanair. I just don't see why they wouldn't just throw 2 darts at the Gold Cup with Envoy Allen. I'm not for 1 second saying he's good enough to win, but this horse, as far as I'm concerned, now he's finished. And why not just one last throw of the dice, Gold Cup? This is what he was bought for. That's just my opinion. But I suppose it doesn't matter. I don't think he'd win any race at the Cheltenham Festival unless he dramatically shows some crazy improvements in the next couple of months, or 71 days, I believe, till the Cheltenham Festival. Moving on to Classical Dream, this is a horse I've put up in these videos at 6 or 7 to 1. I can't remember, but listen, he's 2 to 1 now, I think, maybe even shorter in places. I thought this was a good performance. There was a lot made of how he stole 10 lengths at the start. I don't think it was a matter personally. I think he was always holding Flooring Porter. I know it could have messed up with the race tactics a little bit because Flooring Porter likes to lead, but I just think Classical Dream was the best horse in the race from Port End. He said he didn't have no choice. Classical Dream just bolted off in front, but I think this was almost a case of Port End just keeping it simple, saying I'm on the best horse in the race, come and get me. And this horse, I'm a massive fan of him. I think he's going to win the Stays hurdle. He's a bit of a lunatic, so you can't really rely on him. And he's fragile horse. Will he even get there in one piece? I think Willie said he's going straight to Cheltenham now. I always thought this could be the plan, just one run and then straight to Cheltenham. I think I mentioned this when I first put him up because he's such a fragile horse. And listen, I'm happy with this Classical Dream bet. And as far as that race was concerned, Abacadabra is a big disappointment. You can only really take the top 2 out of that race moving forward, in my opinion. And I think Classical Dream will confirm that form at Cheltenham. But I do probably think they're the 2 best stayers around. Give Champ a shout. He's only really done it once, but I thought that was an impressive performance in the long walk at Ascot. And I'd say Champ, Classical Dream, Flooring Porter, it'd be out of them 3. Stating the pure obvious, they're the 3 horses at the top of the market, but it'd be Classical Dream still for me. Another horse I put up in these videos, which come out and won, which I put this horse up at 6 or 7 to 1 again. I can't remember. One was 6, one was 7 to 1. Was Concertista for the Mare's Chase. I was happy with this performance. It wasn't the strongest race in depth, but I didn't put it in any of my short-priced multiples over the Christmas period because 2 miles 6 and a bit on heavy ground at Limerick, when Limerick's notorious for testing ground. I was questioning this horse's stamina, and she passed with flying colours. Okay, it wasn't the strongest race in the world, but listen, if she stays 2 miles 6 and a bit on Limerick's notorious heavy testing grounds, I don't think anyone will be able to blame stamina if she loses the Mare's Chase. It'll just be down to her ability. And when I put her up in these videos, I said she's got the ability. It's just whether she takes the fences and if she'll stay. And I think she took the fences and it looks like she'll stay. So I'm over the moon with this Concertista bet. Willie's playing his game, saying, oh, it might come a year too early. We might drop her back in the Mare's hurdle, but surely she goes the Mare's Chase. She's being campaigned over fences. She's the anti-post favourite, in my opinion. She'll do a Cole Reevy and she'll win this as a novice chaser. I'm hoping anyway, but Classical Dream and Concertista, I'm over the moon with those anti-post bets for these videos. Moving on to the Savage Chase. This is a cracker as always. It's like this race is scripted because it's always a thriller. Yeah, Galvin was a bit underwhelming winning this for me. Like I say, maybe it's my thinking of the 4 miler at Cheltenham, thinking a classy Gold Cup winner can't really come from this race. But listen, like I said, Native River's done it in the past, and Galvin could go into it again this year. I just thought, I don't know why, maybe he hit the front too soon at Plutard, but he was just really disappointing for me the last 100 yards. At Galvin, we know he stays strong, just ran him down under a fantastic ride from Davy Russell. And Ken Boy loves that track, but he's never going to transfer his form at Leopardstown to Cheltenham, so you can just forget about him. And as far as Cheltenham clues go, I just think that told us that there's no superstar in this year's Gold Cup, and I wouldn't put anyone off Galvin. And a lot of people are on 40-1, but he wouldn't be my cup of tea, the winner of the race. I don't know why, because he ticks all the boxes. He likes good ground, he stays all day, he's got Cheltenham form, he jumps well. Like, listen, he's the ideal Gold Cup horse, but I just had 11-2. I had no saver on him, or I haven't backed him, and if he wins, it's... Listen, I normally, I think I said on my first ever video on this, a couple of people agreed, a couple of people didn't. I think the Gold Cup's predictable. I back 3 or 4 horses at the start of the year, and every year one of them wins it. You can normally get them at double figure prices if you get on them earlier, and you can have the race wrapped up in September. This year, it could be the first year in a long time. Galvin could just laugh at me because I haven't backed him for the race, and like I say, he looks an ideal candidate, but I never pictured this horse as a Gold Cup horse. I know horses can surprise you, but I think even our own stable thought he was more of a Grand National horse at the start of the season, and there's something iffy about this horse. I don't know. The Gold Cup's wide open. Whatever you fancy, I would not put you off. So anyway, moving on to Galopin Des Champs. I already touched on this horse. This was outstanding. I know it was only a beginners or a maiden chase, whatever you want to call it, but this was just breathtaking. Even halfway around, you were just thinking, wow, like, this horse to me, he's 7-4. I would not be backing him at 7-4 for this race. It's incredibly skinny, but I do think he's the winner of this race. He hasn't achieved nowhere near as much as your likes of Always Senor, Brave Man's Game. Can't think of any others in that division, but this is, if I had to go into my head, I think Galopin Des Champs wins. I thought that the betting was all wrong at the start of the season for this race. This is why I put 2 outsiders up, because I thought there was value to be had. I put Gaillard Du Mesnil and Gallyhill up. Gallyhill just purely off potential, and he was 50-1, trained by Nicky Henderson. Looks an absolute dog. He got withdrew for a bit of soft winter's ground in the dipper over the weekend, and I just don't know what the game is with this horse. That is a shocking bet. And then Gaillard Du Mesnil, we've already touched on him in the last video. He was really disappointing on his chase debut, but he came on tons for his hurdles debut last season, so I'm praying he comes on tons for his chase debut, because he is my main bet in the race in my own personal bets. But listen, he's going to have to improve a lot to be like this guy over fences. This Galopin Des Champs was amazing. Like I said, I thought the betting was all wrong. I thought Gaillard Du Mesnil was the dual grade 1 winner over hurdles and a second to Bob Olinger at 25-1, when you had Galopin Des Champs anti-post around 8-1, who's won a handicap at the festival, and then a grade 1 at Punchestown, when you could have said horses were coming towards the end of a long season. I thought Gaillard Du Mesnil was going to be the one for the Willie Mullins camp for this race, but no matter what he does now, I don't think Galopin Des Champs is going to move from that spot as the anti-post favourite for this Festival Novice Chase RSA, and I do think he's going to be the winner. He looks really exciting. People are saying he's got the speed to go over. Sorry, my voice is crackling up. Like I say, I've still got COVID. My voice is still really crackly because I don't think I've talked this much in the last week. But yeah, Willie said he's going to be campaigned over 3 miles plus. We can't believe a word Willie says, but I do think this horse is going to be RSA, Festival Novice Chase, and then Gold Cup bound next year. But listen, he was have the pace to compete in a Marsh, but why take on Bob Olinger when it looks like you've got the RSA, Festival Novice Chase? I was going to say sewing up. Listen, I got Brave Man's Game and that in there, but I was taken by this Galopin Des Champs. I thought he was outstanding. So if we move on to just give a quick mention for Willie Mullins' 3 bumper horses. I think Embassy Garden, can't remember that, impressive on that one over the last of the 3. It didn't come off the bridle, it was outstanding. Redemption Day and Facile Vega, listen, a prize for anyone that can guess that what should be the best out of these 3. Facile Vega came with the reputation, but Redemption Day looked the most impressive to my eyes. It'll be interesting to see where these 3 go. They probably will all clash at the Dublin Racing Festival the same way Kilcrute, Ramillies and a couple of others did. What do you want for Willie Mullins last season? And he's not scared of throwing them all in the Dublin Racing Festival. There's a lot of prize money to be had. He said it himself. And if you ask me which one's going to win at the Dublin Racing Festival right now, I think probably Facile Vega. Like I just said, I was probably more impressed with Redemption Day, but this Facile Vega, he's come with a big reputation. He looks a big horse. There's probably more improvement left in him, and I think he could put one of them stunning performances in at the Dublin Racing Festival once again, and maybe go to Cheltenham as a 6-4 shot. Though same way, I appreciate it. And Kilcrute did in previous years. but I can't wait. Willie looks like he's got an amazing bunch of bumper horses once again. So we move on to Nace yesterday. So right, this is, I don't know how to feel about Hollow Games. I've put him up at 33 to the Albert Bartlett in this race, and at least it looks like he's going there now. I thought he was disappointing. He was ridden like the second string. Ginto's been a surprise package for me. I thought this horse looked slow, and he was a ready winner at this race. I still think he looks a Bartlett horse personally, Ginto, but this race is threw up the last two winners of the Ballymore in previous years. So do you just stick to recent trends? I don't know, and follow history. But I thought they all looked like Bartlett horses. Hollow Games, Ginto, what do you want? And yeah, Hollow Games for me. Listen, this was on very early with my time difference. It was on at like 7 in the morning for me, and like I said, I got COVID, so I was just still a bit tired. It's hard for me to get up in the morning. And the thing with Hollow Games is apparently he drifted from 6-4 or 2-1 to 4-1 right before the race. So maybe this wasn't his day to win, and he was just out for a bit of education, and this was Ginto's day. And Hollow Games has already been. Gordon Elliott has said he's definitely going to the Dublin Racing Festival, so maybe that 2 mile 6 race there is his target, moving on to the Albert Bartlett. Listen, I'm on 33-1, he's 8-1. I'm happy with my bet at 33s. Like, I've always been sweet on this horse for the Albert Bartlett, and it was a disappointing run yesterday, but at least he didn't go on bolt up looking a speedy type by 10 lengths and looked absolutely set for the Ballymore. So yeah, at least we'll get a run for our money, I think, but I don't know quite what to make of that race. Or the horses in it at this point. Blue Lords won again. I thought this was impressive. He just absolutely coasted up the straight, and he didn't come off the bridle as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to start sounding like I know too much about this race. Like I say, it was on very early. I only seen the last 3 fences on the Twitter replay when I typed the name in to have a look, but it looked like he couldn't have done it any easier. He looks like he's raised this game over fences, and I think Willie Mullen said he looks an Arkle type, so listen, I think he'll run well in that race, but as long as he doesn't beat Fanny Hollow, I'll be happy. And that just reminds me, I don't think I've even talked about Fanny Hollow, which I haven't. So Fanny Hollow is another horse I've put up in these videos at 11-1, and he's 6-4 now, 2-1 for the Arkle, I think that's fair, to be honest. I know it's far out, but that was some performance against Riviere to tell. He beat her all over the place. He beat her for the lead, he beat her over the fences, and even when they took the last fence out, he beat her on the furlong run-in, just always holding her. He's got a tremendous attitude. I put this horse up at 11-1 for the Arkle because I thought this was a horse that the price could contract. I didn't actually think he'd be as good as he was. Like, he looks an absolute superstar as far as I'm concerned, and I think the Arkle, as long as he gets there in one piece, I think he'll probably take the Dublin Racing Festival in on the way, the same way Energamine did, probably in the same manner. And I think this horse is a good thing for the Arkle. Was back him at 6-4, 2-1 now. Probably might put him in a few multiples, but I'm happy with 11-1 in these videos, and I'm on 33s in my own personal bet. So this Arkle for me, I'm over the moon. It's the second race of the festival, and if I can get a good win on the board on the second race, I'd be more than happy. I thought that was a sensational performance, and arguably the performance of the weekend. Fanny Hollow, if you ask me, him, Shishkin, Gallop on the Shums. But if you want to stick to the graded races, I was really impressed by Shishkin, but Ferny Hollow for me was the performance of the weekend. So if we move on to Jerry, when me made his debut, he stuffed Kilcroot, and Kilcroot looks disappointing. He just kind of emptied towards the end. I can't remember the horse that ran on for third. I think it was Manella Crooner, was it, for Gordon Elliott. I don't know much about this horse. A lot of people said it's a good horse, and listen, as far as there's that much that's happened over there, and the Christmas period, sorry if I'm a bit sketchy, but I believe it was staying on like a train, and could be one to go open trip. But Jerry with me, I thought this was a great performance. It was first time out, and he just booked out, made all, nothing could get near him, hit the line strong. Probably looks a Bartlett horse to me, but that Ballymore looks that wide open. Who could blame them for just sticking to that trip? But yeah, I thought Jenny and me was a good performance, and he drifted to 3-1 also. I put him in a little treble with Sharjah, and I can't think of the other horse now. Hopefully it'll come back to me at the end of the video. It was another T Hooper was the other horse in the treble. So yeah, it was a good little day for me landing that treble, especially after the Plutard let me 5 fall down in the Savills the day before. But yeah, T Hooper, that's another race. That was a funny race, wasn't it? It looked like Calixios had just was going to win the race quite readily at one point, and T Hooper just rallied and got up and won quite cosily in the end. And I like that T Hooper. I like Calixios also, but I don't know, that's the with this season. I like both of his performances. It looks like it's got a good attitude and good horse moving forward in the future. And so yeah, moving on to Sharjah anyway. Sorry, so Sharjah won his fourth match in hurdling. It wasn't the strongest race. He was beating horses he's already beaten. Two of the horses he's already beat in the race before in the Morgiada, but this was a completely different ground. And Cigarhead got a lot closer. It was a close race, but I always thought Patrick Mullins looked confident on Sharjah. And listen, it's some achievement winning that race 4 times, but we all know Sharjah, and that'll probably be the last of his winning for this season now, because he doesn't tend to win at the Dublin Racing Festival. And listen, it's Honeysuckle time from in the spring, isn't it? So unfortunately for Sharjah, I think that'll be all from him. Moving on to the mares hurdle, which Royal Kahala won. I've seen a couple of people that I follow on Twitter saying like this is a strong division. A game of opinions, but I don't like this mares division at all. I'm struggling for a bet in this race, honestly. I was after betting Queensbrook 16-1 because he's a bit of a funny horse, and I think Gordon Elliott said himself he wouldn't be surprised if there was a big day in it. And at 16-1, of course, she could be a bit of value, but I still haven't played it. I haven't backed anything in this race. I know this sounds like half the time, and anyone that knows me, I couldn't have this. She wears it well. The horse basically done absolutely niche. She had one good performance on the clock over a year ago, and apparently that was good enough to make her a certainty for the mare's hurdle, but just not for me anyway. But I know a lot of people fancied her, and she was disappointing, wasn't she? I know she comes down, but she looked under pressure, and I think she's ruled out of Cheltenham now. I think she fractured the face or something like this. But Royal Kahala, listen, this is a horse that she was staying on last time, and she got beat by Diamonds, and she hit the line strong again in this race. But she was worrying at Cheltenham last season. She come 10th. I think she finished lame. Maybe there was excuses. I think Epitaph finished 10th in the Mares Novice Hurdle before winning the Champion Hurdle a year later. This Royal Kahala couldn't put no one off her. She looks a good mare, but this division for me, this Mares Hurdle, like, I just can't pick a winner in this race. Not even trying to pick the winner. I don't even like any of the horses, so this is looking a no bet race for me so far. I always have a bet on every race at the Cheltenham Festival, even if it's a small one on the day, so maybe I'll just pick one on the day, depending on ground, blah, blah, blah. See what happens from now and then. But I don't like this division at all, but listen, it's a good betting heat. It's a wide open betting market the last time I checked. Ellie May was beat again by Mount Ida. I don't like this Ellie May. Like, I've touched, I just can never take to it. I was against it all last year. I've been against it all this year. I actually backed Mount Ida, but in a double with Grand Paradise against Jungle Boogie, and Grand Paradise got stuffed. I've backed this horse the last 3 times now. That's all. I'm not going to back this horse anymore. It's a bit of a disappointment as far as I'm concerned. But sticking with Mount Ida, Nelly May, it's a bit of a scruffy race. Mount Ida and Scotland have collided. Kind of Ellie May started rallying, and this all happened towards the end, and Ellie May was closing. Mount Ida just pulls it out in front. But I think Mount Ida's being prepped for the Nationals, so I know it was a testing surface, but it's not really good. It doesn't bode well for Ellie May being beat by a national horse on the road to the Cheltenham Festival, and I'd be firmly in the Concertista camp, not just because I've backed her, just still now, even at the prices. There's just something about this Ellie May I've just never been able to take to her, but the form's there, it's rock solid, so if she can bounce back to that Allaho Colreevy form, then who knows. Yeah, I touched on Grand Paradise getting beat by Jungle Boogie. I thought that was a great performance by Jungle Boogie. It was his chase debut. I think it was his chase debut, wasn't it? And Grand Paradise, Jungle Boogie, both turned into the straight swinging. And listen, after they jumped the last 2 fences, it was game over. Jungle Boogie cruised up the straight. And maybe this Grand Paradise is just a bit of a let out of a horse, but I was taken with Jungle Boogie. I really liked this performance, and I'd be interested to see if he's Marsh bound to take on Bob Olinger, because you'd imagine with Willie that he will turn up in the festival. So, yeah, that's all I've got written down on my notes. I just want to put a couple of bets up over the Christmas period. Like I say, I haven't had a chance to cover everything, and I've probably missed out on some horses I wanted to talk about, but unfortunately, I just have to wrap this up now. So, yeah, I touched on the Lolas and Ace, and I think these all look like Bartlett horses. I think Ginto may go for the Ballymore, who knows, because it depends on ground, probably. But just with the recent records, the recent records of the winners of the Lolas and Ace, he probably will go for the Ballymore, and Hollow Games go for the Bartlett, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I don't think any horse in that race was winning the Ballymore. I don't know what's happening with Dysart Dynamo, because wasn't he meant to run in that race? Is there been a problem with him? I'm not sure. Or is he just going to the Dublin Racing Festival? But there isn't a 2 mile 4 race there. And I can't see him run over 2.6. So does he go against Cigarhead over 2 miles as his Ballymore prep? I don't know. But looking at this market, it's wide open. Richie and Mullins had a couple of French imports out over the Christmas period, Hubrisco and Harrout to De Vries or something like this, that I watched very carefully, thinking, could this be the horse to throw the hat into the Ballymore market and go and make a statement? And they both come second, second or third. They were disappointing, and I was just looking at this market again, and I'm going to take a little 0.5 points chance on Jerry Colum, 25 to 1, on Paddy Power and Beffer. So this Jerry Colum, he came out and won over the Christmas period. He looks impressive enough. You could even argue he looks at an Albert Bartlett horse, but just with the same stable, having Ginto and Hollow games, I think that Jerry Colum, being a 5-year-old only, could go for the Ballymore. And I just think at 25 to 1, he looks a tad overpriced in a market where I don't think half of these are even going to run at the top of the market. He's the same owners as... So I think Rob Court owns both Jerry Colum and Journey With Me, so it'll be interesting to see how he splits them up. I think Journey With Me will go for the Bartlett, and I think Jerry Colum will go for the Ballymore. They might even both end up in this race, who knows, but owners don't really like to do that, do they? But they are from different stables, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I'm only going to do 0.5 points on Jerry Colum in case he goes for a different race, in case he's not good enough. But I just think at 25 to 1, he could represent value in this market that looks wide open, and this is the type of market where it only takes... One of them's only going to have to come out and win a graded race impressively, and the price could just absolutely shatter because it's that wide open, this market. So yeah, 0.5 points on Jerry Colum for me, 25 to 1 for the Ballymore on Paddy Power and Betfair. The next horse I'm going to put up is a 1 point win on Vauban, however you pronounce him, for the Triumph for 25 to 1. I thought this looked a strong 4-year-old juvenile hurdle, whatever you call it, with the Pay Piper and Vauban. It was a bit of an upset because I'll try and pronounce this name again, Vauban. I'm probably not even saying it right, but you get the gist. Came with a bit of a reputation. I think he was expected to win, but he didn't get the cleanest jump at the last. He did still pull well clear of the rest of the field. He kind of come inside, then switched out and was staying on strong. I just thought straight away, he looks like a horse that's going to devour the new course at Cheltenham. He come with a big reputation. That's good enough for me. Would he much like him at home? I was more than happy with that performance. It looked like he bumped into a good horse in the Paid Piper of Gordon Elliott's. I think he'll reverse the form at Cheltenham, or maybe next time out if they both meet at the Dublin Racing Festival, which I'm sure they will for more experience. They both only had the one run each over hurdles, as far as I believe. But I was even debating putting both of these horses up for the Triumph in this video because, listen, I've got no problem. I've already paid Phil's order. I've got no problem paying 3 horses in the same race at double figures. But I'm happy for Vauban to reverse the form at Cheltenham, and yeah, I think this is a horse that has got serious potential. Well, we all know he's got serious potential. He came with a big reputation, but I was going to say I think this is a horse that could maybe be put up on Up in the Ante or be given a good mention on Road to Cheltenham this week, and his price capitulate. So I'm getting him up now, and this is the reason I kind of rushed this video in with COVID, because I just wanted to get the 25 to 1 available on Bet365, 1 point win on Vauban for the Triumph up right now. So that's the second bet. The third bet's got no relevance to the Christmas period, but I was just kind of looking through the markets, and I've backed this horse already, and I thought I'd get him on the team on the YouTube videos. I backed this horse every single Cheltenham Festival, and it's Tiger Roll for the cross country. 1 point win, 6 to 1. I'm not going to go mad on him, just hopefully he can accumulate some points for me on the Wednesday. And yeah, I just think this horse is not going to be 6 to 1 on the day if the ground's good. He's won the race 3 or 4 times, maybe it's 3 times, and then he's won also the Triumph Hurdle and the National Hunt Chase. He's the best horse in the race as far as I'm concerned. I've never been an Easyland fan. Of course, if it turns up soft or heavy, Easyland, the pendulum swings in his favour. And of course, it's not just a 2-horse race, but I'm banking on the fact it's going to be good grounds. I think it's quite late this year, the Cheltenham Festival, a week later than usual. I think it's the 15th to the 19th of March. So, listen, if it's good grounds, I don't think Tiger will be 6 to 1. I'm happy to get a point on him now. And he's getting older, but he just absolutely loves that cross-country track. And if he won again, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. So that's the 3 bets I'm putting up for this video. Jerry Colum, 25 to 1. For the Ballymore, Paddy Power and Betfair, 0.5 points. Because like I say, it's wide open, that Ballymore market at the moment. I don't want to nail my colours to one too strongly at this point and just trying to get a bit of early value. I've already put Classic Getaway up wherever he is. He's been entered a couple of times over Christmas again, but still no appearance from him. I I don't even know if he's going to go for the Ballymore, but at the moment, I just think Jerry Columban Classic Getaway are two horses that could come out, win impressively again, and the price could capitulate. So I'm happy to have them to win the Ballymore for me. At this point, only 1 point staked in total on the race. Then my second bet is 1 point on Vauban, 25 to 1 for the Triumph Hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival. And then my final bet for this week is 1 point on Tiger Roll for the cross country, 6 to 1, and that's across the board. And yeah, that's all from me. It was a great Christmas period. Like I say, the performance for me over the Christmas period was Fanny Hollow. I thought the horse to be the most concerned about, whether he's a spring horse or not, probably was Manella Indo. And yeah, I had a couple of winners for this channel: Concertista, Phil Dawg, Classical Dream, Fanny Hollow, but then also I had a couple of losers in Hollow Games and Chantry House. This is anti-post betting. The only day we're bothered about is March, and hopefully there's a few winners already in that description. So yeah, time to start wrapping this video up now. Like I said at the start of the video, I hope you had a great Christmas, a great New Year. I hope you all stayed safe and had plenty of winning bet slips. And yeah, a lot of actions taking place over the Christmas period. I've started to touch on as much as I could. Let me know your thoughts. As, of course, there's been that much racing. A lot of you must have new anti-post bets. After watching that action over the Christmas period, you must have new fancies for the Cheltenham Festival, which is only 71 days away, I believe now. So it's going to be here before we know it. So I'm really interested to hear what all of you are thinking in the comments. Let me know if you've got any new anti-post bets after what we've just seen over the Christmas period. And yeah, I'll reply back to all the comments. I appreciate the people that have been commenting since the start, and any new faces are welcome, of course they are. I talk about horses all day with anyone. Besides Wayne, like I said, I touched on this guy in the last video, and this guy left me 428 comments on the last video. That must take some effort. And bear in mind, this was at 11 PM my time. I'm 5 hours behind. I'm assuming this guy lives in England, so he must have been up at 4 in the morning, typing out or copy and pasting. Either way, it would have took a lot of time. 428 of his winning bets onto my my previous Cheltenham video. What type of a sad life must this man live to have that much spare time at 4 in the morning to be commenting on my YouTube videos? Listen, I said in the last video, I give him my Twitter. If he's got anything to say to me, he can say it to my face. He's just ignored it, and he's just carried on sending me insults. He's carried on sending me his bang average anti-post slips. I'm not going to get anywhere with him, and this is probably the attention he craves. So this will be the last time that I mention him in my videos. Like I said, he's had the chance there to message me, and he just continues to send me 428 comments on my YouTube videos. And the crazy thing is, like I said, it must have taken him some time, and unfortunately for him, I can just, with the click of one button, hide each of his anonymous YouTube channels from my accounts, which deletes all of his comments in the process, which just means it's a complete waste of time on his part. And yeah, this is the last bit of attention I give him in these videos, because I know it's probably what he gets a kick out of. And yeah, that's I suppose that's a wrap for this video. I think I've got the Solway hurdle coming up. I believe so. Be interested to see how Constitution Hill gets on, and I don't know what else is happening over this weekend, but like I say, I believe it will be quiet now on the video from me for a couple of weeks, because I don't think there's nothing interesting happening for the next couple of weeks. So yeah, I'll see you when I see you. Take care.